Target acquired. Destroy. Destroy. Destroy.
Okay, what is up, everyone? Darkside Phil here, and welcome to episode 3 of the now out of beta Hate Live podcast. Tonight is Thursday, January 30th, 2014, and we've got a lot to talk about. We've got a lot to get through, all right? But what I want to preface this with is I hope that this week the podcast goes a little better. If you watched last week, or if you listened last week, unfortunately we had a lot of technical difficulties. We had video clips I was playing you couldn't hear. We had Skype calls. I was trying to have people call in. You couldn't hear them. I think I've gotten through the technical difficulties, and I think that we're good. Now, I don't want to promise that, but for the most part, we spent some time pre-stream trying to make sure that everything was worked out, and I hope that everything goes fine, all right? Of course, the one thing I want to preface this with as we start the show, as I've been doing in several previous weeks, is to say, warning, my internet has been kind of flaky recently. So if you're watching this live on stream, there's a chance it may get choppy, it may go down. I apologize for that, okay? If it does stick in there, I try to get the stream working again as soon as possible, and if it stops working altogether, I'll tweet and I'll post in the stream chat so you know, okay? But if you're watching this on YouTube, chances are not a big deal, as long as my internet was working and I was able to upload this to YouTube. Now, I said this right here on the stream before I started recording, but let me say it again for those who are listening. I give full permission to anyone who watches Hate Live to use any of those third-party websites, such as there's one called Vid to MP3, I think there's one that's called YouTube to MP3 Converter, to use those websites to take the video once it's on YouTube and convert it to an audio-only file. A lot of people have said, Phil, why don't you put the show on iTunes? Phil, why don't you convert it yourself? And the answer is because it takes a long time. So if you want the show in audio only, you have these avenues you can use to find. Just search for Vid to MP3 in Google. It immediately comes up. It's very easy to use. I've used it many, many times. So you go ahead, I give you permission to use those to convert this show to audio. I'm not going to come after you and have a team of angry lawyers from LA come chasing you down at your door because you downloaded this show, okay? All right, so we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. An exciting show tonight. We've got updates on ongoing stuff, including big news on my website, which I can't wait to show you what I have in store for you tonight. I literally got something regarding the website moments before I started recording tonight. It's great. I can't wait to show you how good this is. Great news, positive news regarding the website, big updates that you're going to love, all right? And the impending final launch of the website. We've got all the gaming stuff I've been up to recently. I want to review that for you and also tell you what I have in store for you in the coming week, because some things have changed and adjusted because of new releases and things that have happened, all right? I want to obviously preview next week and let you know what I have in store for you then. We got gaming news. We got many stories coming out of the gaming world. I actually wrote some of them down so as I go through the show I don't forget any of them. All right, and some are updates, some are not necessarily updates, some are more just new stuff. Obviously, the biggest thing abuzz this week is the pro wrestling world. We will mention it, but I'm not going to go too much into detail about it because I already have an ongoing pro wrestling commentary show where I will address that stuff in full. But I'll mention that so you know what's going on with that. Back in the day. We will have another Back in the Day segment this episode. This one's going to be about my childhood. When I was growing up in the 1980s and early 1990s, we're going to talk about the cartoon shows that became so popular in pop culture that they in turn spawned comics, or maybe already had comics that spawned the cartoon show, which then just blew up into things like movies, and of course the biggest thing that was so huge around the 80s and 90s, action figures. That's something that no one even talks about anymore. No one buys action figures. Very few are manufactured anymore, but it was this huge deal back in the 80s and 90s for kids. That was my childhood, playing with action figures of my favorite heroes from TV. So that's going to be the Back in the Day segment, and I know it's not gaming related, but it's not always. It's good to have a variety like that to mix it up. So it's not always games, and you get bogged down and bored, all right? And then, fingers crossed that I did this correctly, our third segment will be Skype callers. So, can't call in yet, but our third segment will be Skype callers, people calling in, giving their opinions, giving their questions for me, and I'll answer them live. And we'll see how much time that I allot for that. We'll have to see how long it takes for me to get through everything else in the show. Between each segment, there will be a short break, as always. So I do want to say thank you to everyone who last week put up with the show with the errors that I had. It's still got decent views on YouTube. It had around 7,000 views as of right now, which is pretty on par for what Hate Live gets. It wasn't like people got pissed off and, didn't watch the show. So thank you for that. Thank you for being patient. Again, we're moving ahead. We're trying to learn new stuff. I think that we're going to get this Skype thing down after repeated tries, and I'm hoping tonight it works. I think tonight it will work, okay? All right, so first and foremost, update regarding my internet. Because last week, pretty much the whole first chunk of the show was about me talking about my experiences, bad experiences with my internet company, Optimum Online, since I moved to this condo in 2009. The update is as follows. First of all of a sudden, in the middle of the night on Sunday night last week, it was like 2 a.m., and my modem turned itself off and then repeatedly cycled through the lights. They actually call it modem cycling, trying to connect back to the home base of my ISP, and it couldn't do it. All of a sudden, around 4 in the morning, it did, and since then, I've had no problems whatsoever with my internet. Now, the thing is, this happened before. This happened several weeks ago, and a whole week I had no problems with my internet, then all of a sudden the problems came back. So by no means am I saying my internet problems are fixed, but there's a high potential that maybe they are, but maybe they're not, maybe it's temporary, I don't know. But there's also other good news. I got a call from a gentleman named Tim, who is a local field services manager, basically. And he said that at this point, with all the ongoing problems I've had with my internet, he wants to bring a team of people in here tomorrow, Friday, to go into the basement and to certify the building. Now, what that means is they have a certain testing criteria that they have to test all the equipment in the basement on. If it doesn't pass, they have to repair it in order to have it pass to certify the building. And he says they're going to be doing that tomorrow. So right up front, I want to let everyone know, tomorrow, Friday, which is January 31st, is up in the air. There's a strong chance that these guys will come here, find out the whole basement's screwed up, and end up having to tear out equipment and starting over. If that's the case, and I have no internet, obviously I can't upload and I can't live stream. So I'll let you guys know on Twitter, @TheyCallMeDSP is my Twitter account. I'll tweet up and let you know what's going on, if I've heard anything, if my internet is down. I'll let you know. I'll get you fully informed on the situation so that you know exactly what is going on regarding my internet, all right? So I don't want people, Phil said he's going to stream, and now where is he? That could be happening. So yeah, that's why you got to check out my Twitter account to know what's going on, all right? Okay, so before we even get into a recap of what I've been doing this week and what I'm going to be doing in the future, the one cool thing that I want to talk about that's a massive positive, that after a week of hard work, we finally secured it, and I've got huge updates for you, especially if you haven't been following me this week and now you're watching Hate Live for it's the first time thing of mine that you've watched all week. Boy, have me made strides in regards to my website, thekingofhate.com, okay? And what I mean by that is, in 1 week's time, here's what's happened. Amazing amount of progress. I purchased the website. I now own the legal rights to the website and its domain, thekingofhate.com. I purchased forum software. I purchased not just crappy hosting, a dedicated server on which the website will be hosted for the next year, okay? And a few other bells and whistles. I purchased a nice fancy template for the website, and what we're going to do right now on the stream, we're going to do a live walkthrough of the website. Now, some of the things I'm going to show you are not launched yet. They're kind of in beta, all right? And it's not live yet, but we're going to work to try to get it live as soon as possible. Other things are live, and I'll explain to you what's live and what's not, all right? We have not officially launched the website yet, but I wanted to give you guys a special preview tonight because I'm so excited for when this launches. And, right now we've got 525 people on the stream and growing. That's the thing. People see, the stream started, and they start joining the stream. We don't have 525 people registered for the website yet. I'll tell you right now, it will behoove you to register as soon as possible, because once I start the contest giveaways that are coming right around the corner, including a PS4, it's going to go nuts. So register early, register while you can, get everything in there before everyone tries to do it at once, all right? Even though we have a dedicated server, when you've got 1,000 people trying to do something at once, it tends to bog down a website, all right? So, kingofhate.com. First of all, my whole vision for the website, now that I own it, is that this is your one-stop hub where you can go on a daily basis, on every hour if you really want to go that often, where you can find out what's going on in my world, all right? Whether it's me uploading videos to YouTube, me live streaming on Twitch, other stuff going on, schedule changes and updates. This is going to be your at-a-glance way to know exactly what is happening in the world of DSP. Okay? So, what we've done is we implemented two different things. A interactive one-stop shop homepage that's going to have all of my content implemented in it, okay? And then forums, a brand new forum, which has way better features and way better capacity than the previous forum had, all right? I think you're really going to like this. So what we'll do, let me give you a brief overview of what we're looking at in regards to what the new homepage is going to look like. I'm going to do a screen capture for you because I have a preview of it up. It's not live yet, but I have a preview of it up that I want to show everyone of what the homepage is going to look like. So give me a moment here. What I will do is add screen region. Add, I can't see screen region. Here it is. Keep in mind, this is the first draft. We have not done anything with this yet. Okay? I'll stretch that out for you. I know it just overlapped. I just got to make it full screen. There we go. So, what you're currently seeing here is the first draft of what's going to be the new interactive homepage for thekingofhate.com. Okay? And I think, first of all, I want to say very special thanks to Ryan, who has been tweeting me about this. He said he was going to, out of the kindness of his own heart, he says he works on web programming, and he wanted to make a really neat homepage for me. And he's been working on this for the week, basically. He's been working on it. I also want to say special thanks to Chewbacca, who I guess has been working with him to try to get certain functionality on this page, okay? So what you see here at a glance, if you just go to thekingofhate.com, this is going to be what you see. Now, what you're going to have here is several different things at a glance that make it incredibly easy for you to figure out what I'm up to. So the first thing you see right here, I'm going to use my cursor to point to things, is my banner, little shortcut links to all of my content. So whether you want to go to Twitch, you want to check out the forums, you want to see what are the latest videos I've uploaded, see what I mean? And of course, this is all changeable. Right now, this is just the first draft, but this can all be updated. Look at this. We actually have a link to the store, which I haven't even had a link to the Cafe Press store in how long? Readily available for anyone, okay? What we have here, interactive images where I can change these. I could choose what I want to have featured on these images that are scrolling through this homepage. So I could have, coming this week, Hate Live on Thursday. These are the topics that'll be discussed. I could have co-op with John Rambo this coming Saturday. I can have this as a preview of what's coming this week so you have a way to kind of anticipate the hypest stuff that's coming. All right. In addition to that, we've got this right here, which is going to serve as my schedule pane. As you can see, what I'll be able to do on a daily basis is change this information so that I can say stream times. Okay, first stream, 2:30 p.m., and it's this game. Second stream is 8:30, and it's Hate Live, all right? I'll be using that pane to direct you guys to Twitch and know what is coming in that current day. What you see on the right-hand side, which is really neat, is an interactive pane where you can actually read all my latest tweets, and you can tweet directly to me from this pane. So no longer do people are always saying, oh, I hate Twitter, I don't have Twitter, I don't use Twitter, Twitter sucks, Twitter's ass, Twitter's Bigfoot's dick, I hate this fucking stupid thing. Well, you don't have to use Twitter. All you have to do is use this to tweet, okay? You can just register for Twitter, so obviously you have a Twitter login, and then you can use this from now on. No longer do you have to worry about, oh no, I have to, keep going to Twitter to figure this shit out. All right? So, again, at a glance, going to the homepage, you know what the latest things I said were. Look, you can even see, here's the playthrough. My stream went live, and then I had to restart it because I'd screwed up, and the audio wasn't synced. You can see I did that again, unfortunately. And a history of all my tweets. Look. Go all the way down. Look at that. Me retweeting a fan who bought something from Cafe Press. Look at that. It's great. Rather than having to go to Twitter, it's all here. Now, continuing on. As you scroll down, you see there's even more content. In the middle of the page, you're going to have little shortcuts. And, of course, I can change these to be whatever I want. This is just the example. You have little shortcuts to my popular series. In this case, it's most of my vlogging series and then, just in general to DSP Gaming, my gaming channel. And then, of course, the pièce de résistance, at the bottom of the page, integrated here already, is Twitch TV with the live stream chat. So you can actually watch all of my Twitch streams right here from the home page. You don't have to be on Twitch. How freaking cool is that? So that's what I think. It's such a great positive thing that you'll be able to, at a glance, do everything. And I know some people in the stream chat are going nuts right now trying to get their stuff up there. They're 30 seconds delayed, though, right? So there you go. You can actually chat live on the homepage. So no more, gee, if I want to watch Phil's content, I have to go to his Twitch page, and then I have to watch the stream there, then I have to go to his YouTube page, and I have to click there, and then I have to go to his vlogs page, and then, gee, I wonder when he's streaming, so let me go on Twitter. No. All of that information is readily available right here on the new homepage. Now, I have no clue if this stuff works yet. I'll just click for the hell of it. Yeah, see, it just goes to the bottom. That's what I figured. So now what we're going to do is we're going to jump from here to the forums. Now, I don't know if this is going to be the correct aspect ratio, so bear with me when I click this. No, it's not. I have to change the screen region. All right, hold on a second, everybody. Let me fix the screen. Whoa. That was trippy. All right, let me fix the screen region here. I'll make a new one. Okay, hold on. Here we are. Hold on. There we are. Okay, now you can actually see it. This is the new kingofhate.com forums. Okay? And what you're seeing is the new layout. Now, you don't have to use this layout, okay? This is you can change it, and don't worry, when this officially goes live, meaning when I actually announce that it's fully fledged launched, and this is the final version, and the contest is launching and everything, I'm going to do tutorial videos to walk you guys through the features of the website, including how to use the shout box. This is a live shout box right here. How to go through and look at your private messages, how to use the forums itself, how to register if you want to register for the first time, how to change the format, because there's actually different templates you can use. If I go to this one, you'll see how different it is. Whoa. See, very different. I'm going to go back to the one I was on. I'm going to walk through all of this content. So, what the hell? Someone's posting videos? What the flip is that? Oh my god! I'm sure it's probably not real porn, but someone probably just saw that and they're like, oh, let me put that video on in their shout box. I think I will minimize the shout box. That was freaking funny. That was freaking funny. What the hell is that? Someone linked a YouTube video that looks like porn. Obviously, it's not if it's a YouTube video. That was funny. Okay. So, guess we're going to have a little word with the people in the shout box later. All right, so, the forums have been reborn, and I do want to apologize for any of you who were previous forum users, because unfortunately, all of the forums from 2010 up to this week have been lost. And I had a feeling this was going to happen. I had a feeling it was going to be an inevitability of having a new site, but there was no way to properly convert the data because it was a completely different database. It was a MyBB, which is like the cheapest, crappiest forums you could get. They're free, and they're crap. They really are crap. And we converted over to this really snazzy IP boards, and we lost a lot of data. So I apologize for those of you who might have had ongoing threads and things there, archived stuff. It happens. And it's a time of renewal. It's a time of transition in the year of 2014. And, we're starting over. So these forums are all new. As you can see right now, we've got about just under, 450? I can't see. The number's too small. We've got, under 500 subscriber or accounts that were registered. However, I didn't even mention it yet in a video. You know what I mean? Like, this is the first time I'm really majorly mentioning it and even taking any time to show you guys this. I am going to be doing, like I said, walkthrough videos coming very soon. Basically, when we get this homepage launched and it works properly and it looks the way I want it to look and I can have it work the way I want it to work, which I'm hoping we can do soon, next week would be nice. Then I'm going to announce the launch of the website. We're going to try to have people register, and then I'm going to announce the contest, the PlayStation 4 giveaway, which is coming up very soon. All right? So, it's coming up. And again, I cannot emphasize, if you are planning on using this website, you should register as soon as possible. Get it done now. Don't wait till when the contest hits, and then you're going to have thousands of people who are rushing to the site to register to enter to win this PS4. Do it now. Okay? So that's the website in a nutshell. That's a very early build. I'm sure that... Oh, God, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm sure that as we use it, we'll find ways to improve it. We may add things here, subtract things here. But I think the forums look really neat. I think that the homepage itself is a great place for you to go and just see all my content at a glance. It's an ease of use. thekingofhate.com, that's how I find out what Phil's doing and watch his content, rather than have to go into 400 different places to find stuff. Now, the hope is that enough people check it out that eventually it works, and then I can maybe even monetize it, meaning putting ads up on the site, because I'll be honest, this is a lot of money. I spent over $2,000 getting this site running, and that's really realistically what you need to spend to make a real website. Not these, namby-pamby people who put out free websites for $8 a month. Those websites are crap. I'm talking a website that's going to run all the time. It's going to be reliable. It's going to be able to host all of the data and all the things, the features that I want to host. It's expensive. Now, for me, it's a business expense. So it's a write-off on my taxes. It's not that big of a deal, but I hope you understand. What I'm trying to do is create a place where you, the community, people who like my content, people of like mind who want to discuss stuff. It doesn't just have to be my content. You saw on the forums there. The general section that's not about my content has far more posts than even my section. That's okay, but that's what I want. A burgeoning, healthy, fun community of people who just want to talk and have fun and share their experiences. When I'm doing a playthrough and a really funny moment happens, someone posts up and everyone gets to share that experience. I really feel that since YouTube has changed so much since 2010, when really I started doing this full time, it's not a good place for interaction anymore. It's very hard to interact in YouTube comments. Google Plus bullshit have ruined YouTube comments. This will be a new place where you can go and interact with the viewer base. And I think that it's a great thing, and I hope that you guys will give it a shot. Even if, you try it, you don't like it, give it a shot, all right? Because like I said, I invested a lot of time and effort and money into this for you. That's primarily why I'm making it. So I'll have more information on the website in the near future. I'm hoping we can get that homepage launched. Right now, it's just a placeholder image. Hoping we can get that homepage launched soon. We can tweak it so that it works, and I'll start using it on a daily basis, and we can get this launched. I mean, it would be such a great positive thing to get this year moving, to have this thing going, okay? So enough about the website. I'll have more information on that in the near future. No, enough of me ranting on and rambling about it. Let's talk about what I've been up to in this past week. A lot, admittedly. This is finally the first week where we had a new retail release. The first new retail release of 2014. And it's not very good. I hate to say it's not very good. It was very disappointing. A lot of people were like, oh God, what is this? So what did I do this week? Obviously, I continued on with a lot of the stuff that I said I was going to do, including more Fallout 3. John Rambo and I did some of the best wrestling simulation matches we've ever done this past Saturday. We did the Royal Rumble simulation, and we did fantasy matches in there. The fantasy matches are getting great views. People are loving the fantasy matches more so than the actual simulation matches. And, obviously what we're going to do in the future is when we do wrestling simulations, we're going to do these fantasy-style matches to pique your interest, all right? So if you haven't seen them yet, you got to check them out. They're really entertaining and funny. Again, I wouldn't say that. Obviously everything I think that I do is entertaining and funny, but those are really freaking good, okay? Outside of that, all my gameplay has continued. I actually finally did a new stream of Don't Starve, which is about an hour and a half worth of new content. And I am actually still going with the Strongman. I've not died yet, so go check that out. We had continuing playthroughs, such as Dragon Age Origins. We had... I'm trying to remember what the other ongoing one was. Hold on a second. Sometimes I forget. Whoa. Oh, that's right. Phoenix Wright, Justice for All, continued. And it's turning out to be the longest case I've ever played in the entire game, which is ridiculous. It's so freaking long. I'm 50-something parts into it. The playthrough itself of the game up to there was only 70-something parts. So you're talking this case is going to be longer than the entire rest of the game combined. It's ridiculously long. I've been putting it on hiatus. I will be doing that tomorrow and hopefully finishing that tomorrow. We also had the Final Fantasy XIII Lightning Returns demo, which was only 3 videos, but it really, I think, showcased what the game's going to be. And right now, I am going to get it. I do have plans to get the game and play it. Do I have high hopes for it to be a super popular playthrough? No, because so many people are burnt out on Final Fantasy. Again, they've rebooted the engine, but it's the same characters again in an ongoing story that seems even more confusing than the first 2, if you can freaking believe it. So, check out the demo and you'll see exactly what I mean. I make so much fun of the opening cutscene. Go check that out. So that's what I've been up to. And then, of course, the 2 new games for this week. We had Dragon Ball Z Battle of Z, which a lot of people are saying is probably one of the worst Dragon Ball games in recent memory. I am enjoying the game because I'm reliving the plot lines of the Dragon Ball Z anime. Not necessarily for the gameplay of the game, but the anime that I have not watched since the 1990s. It's funny because I did watch the anime in the 1990s, and as I'm playing the game, I'm remembering a lot of stuff that happened during it and kind of following along with that. But I've kind of hit an impasse at this point where I'm at a part where the game where it's so hard to beat solo, and it's not because it's a challenging fight, it's because the game is bugged to shit. You have 3 AI teammates who are supposed to do things like heal you and help you, and even when you command them to do so, they don't. And so I've retried playing this particular fight 100 times, and I probably what I'm going to do is the next time that I play that game, I'm going to do it co-op, meaning I'm going to invite viewers and fans to join me and try to beat some of the harder stages of the game. Okay. We also had Broken Age, the new Tim Schafer point-and-click adventure. This was the one that was Kickstarter backed, and for 2 years of development, people have been waiting. It finally came out this week. I loved it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. The plot was outstanding. It kept you wondering what on earth was going on. There was a surprise twist at the end. You're like, what? Like that moment of realization where you go, huh? Oh. And I loved it. But I hate to say this, I don't think the game is getting as much love as it deserves. Now, maybe it's because the game has already been out for 2 weeks for those who did Kickstarter donations. I was trying to play this game 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, there was an embargo. There's all this crap going on that I couldn't play it. So, you know, I was expecting, 2 weeks, maybe after 2 weeks of hype, this game will... No. The streams barely got any attendance. And even the videos on YouTube. Now, I'm not complaining about views. What I'm saying is I really think this game is great. I thought the game was outstanding. I can't believe that so few people are even giving it the time of day. Oh, what is this point and click? Fuck Tim Schafer. He hasn't made a multi-billion-dollar game in the past couple of years. Fuck him. It's like, come on, man. You gotta have an open mind. This is what I mean. I'm gonna be playing a wide variety of games in this year. All right, with all the indie titles that are gonna be coming out on things like PS4 and you know, games like this where I'm going to jump on the opportunity to check them out. So I want to kind of get you guys in a mindset that I'm trying to play entertaining content for you, and you should check out more different variety of games. Not just, well, he's not playing a mainstream, super-duper overhyped game that had a $2 million advertising budget, and I saw ads for it all over TV. I don't want to watch this. It's like, just give the game a chance, you know? I think that people would give the game a chance, they get hooked and they'd want to watch. But the fact that I'm watching right now, I'm looking at my desktop, and I think part 1 of the playthrough barely has 4,000 views is like, wow, really? So what I'm really hoping here is what happened is anyone who's interested maybe watched a playthrough from someone who had donated to the campaign and got the game 2 weeks in advance, and maybe, you know, I'm late to the party. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Just please don't skip a game completely because you never heard of it, or because it's Tim Schafer, or it's like, oh, I heard this point and click, that sucks. This is a genre of game that was huge. Games like Tales of Monkey Island, Sam and Max, you know, over the years, all these point and click games became huge phenomenons in gaming. Just because they haven't been around for a while doesn't mean they're not good. Just recently we had games like The Walking Dead. We've got Telltale Games working on stuff like The Wolf Among Us. Those are point and click games, and those are good too. So don't give this game the time of day. I'm telling you, give it a look. I think you'll get hooked just like I did, and I can't wait for the second half of the game that's coming out later this year. Okay? So, I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. Okay. What else have I been up to? Well, a lot of you might not be aware of this, but yesterday I uploaded a new Poorly Cooking with the King video. and I didn't give it a lot of hype or hoopla. In fact, I didn't even announce this week that I was going to do it. I just released it as a surprise. So far, around 5,000 people have checked it out, although the part that I released about 4 weeks ago got 14,000 views, so I'm hoping more people, oh, he made another one, and they'll go and they'll check it out. Now, this is an ongoing series. I want to make this clear. I've revived this series, but it's not going to be something I do all the time. Something I may do like about once a month, which is why it's been about a month since the last one, why I released this one this week. And my goal is that it is an ongoing series where I will once a month show you a new dish or something that I could try out. Now, some people have sent me recipes. They're like, Phil, can you try this out? And when I look at the recipe, it's like, pre-cook this, pre-prepare this, have this ready, have that ready. And I'm like, so the actual meal might take 15 minutes to make, but the preparation takes 2 hours. So obviously that's not the spirit of the series. I think a lot of people who haven't heard about the Cooking with the King, they don't know what it's about. What it's supposed to be about is if you're a person like me, who's busy all the time, who is constantly, doing work and you're on the go and you're doing stuff, it's a way to make quick but satisfying meals. They may not be the most healthy, they may not be the most nutritional, but at least you're going to make a meal quickly. It's going to be delicious. And that's the goal of the series. So yesterday I actually made steak fajitas live in a pan, and you got people in the comments saying things like, oh, these aren't real steak fajitas because you didn't cook the meat live yourself. You didn't chop those veggies. It's like, but that's not the point of the series. The point is, if you went to the supermarket previously, you bought the ingredients, you just come home, toss the shit in a pan, and make it quickly. That's the point of Poorly Cooking with the King. All right? So that's how the series is going to be going forward. I'm already in the planning stages of the next episode and what it's going to be. I'm not going to spoil yet, but I have a couple ideas of what it's going to be, and that's going to be coming soon. And one last thing, there's still a bunch of people out there who are just ridiculous brats. And any video that my girlfriend's in, they're going to, oh, I hate her voice. I hate her. Enough is enough. She's been now in my videos for 2 fucking years, all right? So she's going to be in some videos. Guess what? By the end of this year, I'm going to be living with her in my new place. So it's like either grow the fuck up and get used to it, or just don't watch the content that she's in. And I'm going to tell you right now, Poorly Cooking with the King is probably a series she's going to be in from now on, because as I've told you in the past, I don't like to cook for myself. Cooking for myself, I feel, is a huge waste of time. You're cooking a meal, you're sitting there making something fresh, and then you eat it once and it's done. Or what I would like to do if I'm going to cook is cook enough for multiple people so that's satisfying a need. For me, it's easier and actually cheaper for me to go to a local restaurant, support a local business, and buy fresh food every day and eat it that way rather than stand here in front of the stove for 30 minutes to an hour cooking a fucking meal. I don't have an hour to waste making food for myself. So Poorly Cooking with the King is going to be a series where I make new dishes and quick dishes, probably to share with my girlfriend, all right? And so she's going to probably be in the video. So you just got to deal with it. The amount of overwhelming immature people who still leave comments, oh, I hate her voice. Then fucking plug your ears or don't watch the video and grow the fuck up. The comment section for YouTube isn't for you to open your anus like this and just fucking spray fecal matter all over the fucking internet. That's not why the comment section was created on YouTube. It was created to have positive interaction, to have creative criticism, and to try to spawn new ideas and things based off of what you're watching. Not to just vent your stupid prejudice and bullshit all over the internet. So cut that shit out. And again, it's going to be an ongoing series where she's going to be in it, so deal with it. Okay? People in the stream chat are laughing hysterically because I showed you my ass. Okay. So, that came back this week. And like I said, once a month I'll be doing one of those. What's coming up in the near future? Well, tomorrow, I'm going to be uploading a lot of the videos that I've got stored up, including the rest of Dragon Ball Z, catch up on that on YouTube. Probably some more Dragon Age Origins, catch up on that on YouTube. First stream tomorrow is going to be the conclusion of Phoenix Wright Case 4 for Justice for All. If I could finish it, and I mean, it's so fucking long. I've done 3 4-hour-long streams, and I'm not done with it yet. It's ridiculous. I'm hoping tomorrow I can put a fork in it, because I'll be honest with you guys, doing the voice acting for that series really, really wears me out. Like, my voice was shot when I did that for a couple days straight. And I want to finish it so I can give my voice a rest. So hopefully I'll finish it tomorrow, all right? Second stream tomorrow is Fallout 3. Fallout 3 Friday nights, return. I want to remind everyone, though, that if my internet is out because these guys are in the basement fixing my internet, well, then, there'll be new content when I can get to it when the internet comes back. Maybe I'll play offline and I'll upload those videos to YouTube, okay? Saturday Rambo is here. Now this is the thing. So much is going on in pro wrestling right now. Huge controversies, big news, speculation. How the WWE had one of the worst pay-per-views in their history this past Sunday that completely ignored what the fans wanted and basically spat right in their faces. All right? To the point where they had to completely rewrite their shows this week. In addition to that, CM Punk might have walked out of the company. There's very heavy rumors to that effect. I've got a lot to say, but the thing is this. I have a show called Smart Guys that is a pro wrestling commentary show. The purpose of that show is to comment on pro wrestling and about these kind of issues. I have so many people this week. Phil, what's your thoughts on it? Tell them, come on, you got to do a live vlog. You got to do it. No, that's the point of Smart Guys. If I blow my load earlier in the week, what am I going to talk about on Smart Guys? All right? So this Saturday is going to be probably one of the biggest anticipated Smart Guys ever because myself and John Rambo will be giving our opinions on everything that happened this week in pro wrestling. Be there this Saturday, live Saturday afternoon, here on Twitch to watch it live, or it'll go on the King of Hate vlogs right after we finish recording the show. It's going to be huge. Definitely check it out, especially if you haven't seen an episode in a while. This is going to be the one you're going to want to watch, okay? And then afterwards, hopefully on Saturday, John and I will be able to finish Super Mario 3D World Co-op on the Wii U. That's the plan. Sunday and Monday, we'll be continuing on with certain things. However, Sunday, first stream is going to be Spinal in Killer Instinct. You might say, Spinal in Killer Instinct, when did that happen? Well, I'm going to tell you because it's in my gaming news. We're going to recap in a second. Then I'm going to probably go to dinner with my parents. When I come back, we can preview. And after that, Don't Starve. Okay, that's the Sunday. And then Monday is up in the air. It could be more Phoenix Wright if I need to beat it. It could be Dragon Age Origins. It could be something else. I'm not sure what the second stream is going to be yet. I'm actually looking to get back into NBA 2K14. And supposedly there was supposed to be a patch this week to fix the game bug where I'm stuck and the game is crashing on the special rookies game and the 3-point challenge. But no one's told me that the patch came out. All right. So if the patch isn't out, I'm not going to play the game yet. I'm waiting to hear that the patch is out. And once it's out, I'll go back to NBA because I'm not retiring the game. I just can't progress till EA fixes the damn thing. Okay. All right. And then, next week will be a fun week. There is a new release, Fable Anniversary, even though it's not really a release. It's basically an HD remake of Fable 1 that was only on the Xbox. I never played it, so I'm going to be checking that out that week. And then continuing on with all the ongoing series. And there's a possibility, a strong possibility, that next week I will actually be checking out some new games. All right. Now, I don't mean new games, new releases. I mean starting new playthroughs because there's some more downtime throughout February. Oh, and on Monday, I forgot to mention, on Monday is probably when I'll be going back to Dragon Ball Z, and I'll be doing some co-op with fans as well. More info on that coming in the weekend preview on Sunday, all right? So that's the brief recap and future, so you know what's coming in the next few days. There you have it. Not a heck of a lot. I mean, let's be honest. It's all content that I'm enjoying doing, but again, it's not new releases, and I hate that because I know you guys want to see new games, but I can't play what's not out. I mean, once we get to the end of February, March, it's going to be incredibly busy and insane, but we need to get there first, okay? So gaming news this week. We got a few news stories. First of all, as a follow-up to an ongoing story that we've been covering here for several weeks, if you remember a couple weeks ago, the report came out that Nintendo, for the third straight year, has very, very much come under their expectations. In fact, for the third straight year, they've lost hundreds of millions of dollars rather than turning a profit. And the CEO of the company, Iwata, came out and publicly admitted he's at fault, and he basically is taking the blame for this, but he's not resigning, but he's determined to turn it around, okay? So this caused a lot of people to say, oh my god, Nintendo's in dire straits, what are they going to do? Are they going to continue to do consoles in the future? Maybe they're just going to become a publisher? Are they going to go primarily over to mobile games, which is what Iwata actually, in a lot of his interviews, kind of alluded to, that Nintendo's going to now get into the mobile game market? So yeah, playing Nintendo on your iPhone, isn't that going to be fun? So anyway, a news story came out. Iwata came out publicly this week and announced to the shareholders that he is taking a 50% pay cut for the next year. He says that he realizes he is so at fault, and his fault, because he was the leader who was supposed to take this company and turn it around, that he's basically cutting his pay by half in the next year. Now, I have a couple feelings on this. First of all, I have to say, you got to say to the guy, you got to respect that. When you have a job and you don't perform at it, usually there's some kind of consequences. Now, by no means am I saying that if you screw up at work, that they should keep half of your pay away from you. You know what I mean? Especially if that's your livelihood. But I think it's a noble thing that Iwata is basically saying, I won't take as much money as I'm making because I don't deserve it. All right? At the same time, though, is that really going to help the company? You know what I mean? Instead of saying, I'm going to take a 50% pay cut, why don't say, okay, in the next year I'm going to have an open mind. I'm actually going to listen to what my customers tell me. I'm going to take customer feedback. I'm going to listen to the criticism that the gaming media and everyone has been giving me for the past several years. I'm going to take my fingers out of my ears and actually start listening so that I can save my company. He didn't say any of that. He said, I'm going to take a 50% pay cut. So even though he's doing that, doesn't mean that the company's going to turn around. And I think that a lot of people are still worried. Gee, that's great that he's doing a noble gesture. That doesn't save the company. You know what I mean? The guy wasn't making $4 billion a year so he can put $2 billion back into Nintendo and make it profitable again. No. So Nintendo's still going to have to try to figure out what on earth they're going to do to change the direction they're going. Because right now the direction they're going is straight down. Like they're going down a freaking ski slope. They got to find a way to save it. And it's nice. Again, it's nice. But at the same time, it's not anything that I think is going to help the company. If anything, it might be a way for Iwata to try to save face and say, I'm not stepping down, but look, I'm doing this noble thing. I'm Mr. Good Guy. Will it actually affect anyone's views about him? I don't know. Okay? Another big news story coming out this week is that Electronic Arts reported, and this is very abnormal for Electronic Arts, in the third quarter, which is of their fiscal year, and this is the weird thing, I've talked about this before. Corporations' fiscal years aren't a January to December year. You know what I mean? It's not like a calendar year. It's like, I think it's like March or April until March or April of the next year. So, really, when you say third quarter, what they mean is the hardcore gaming season. You know, October, November, December. So, EA Games came out and reported that for the third fiscal quarter of 2013, they actually had over a $300 million profit loss. So they made no profit that quarter. In fact, they lost $300 million. Now, when EA announced this, everyone came out and said, what? But isn't that time frame the primary time when people are buying games like Madden, FIFA? You know, these giant sports franchises came out during that period of time, and EA is saying they lost money. So a lot of people are kind of questioning this, like, how could this be? Is it that maybe people aren't buying those games anymore? As the bubble burst and people realize you don't need to buy another edition of your favorite franchise game every single year, that not a lot changes between these games? Or is EA up to something? Did EA just all of a sudden spend a overly tremendous amount of money on something that's out of the ordinary and they haven't really revealed what it is? It's a very confusing news story. And a lot of people are laughing and saying, well, EA sucks. They're the worst, voted the worst company in years, and they hate their customers. They hate gamers, so fuck them. They deserve it. You know, for me, I mean, I take the good with the bad. And sure, for all the bad things that EA does, I have to say there's a lot of good things. For some of my favorite series of games like Dead Space are right now in the EA family, and I wouldn't want to see that stuff go away because EA doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're pissing away money. Now, I don't know why they lost $300 million. I really don't have any theories. I don't stay behind the scenes and listen to what people are saying. Gee, maybe there's this top secret thing they did, or they misappropriated money. I don't know. But for them to be losing $300 million during the quarter of the year that should be the biggest quarter for them. You know what I mean? The hardcore gaming season is when parents go to the store and they put down their money to buy shit for their kids for Christmas. You're telling me they couldn't turn a profit then? That's horrible. That is horrible. Okay. Some mini news stories, one of which I already mentioned. So here's the deal with this game called Killer Instinct, the fighting game that came out as an Xbox One exclusive and a launch title. When it launched back in November, it only had 6 characters. Now, as of right now, I have played with all 6 characters. I've done several online match sets with these characters, and I think, with the exception of Saberwolf and Sadira, 2 characters that I really don't like, so I didn't play with them much, I think I've kind of exhausted the game, meaning I'm not going to sit there and play it competitively, but for a fun casual side, I think I've played it enough for only 6 characters. It kind of was getting boring. So this week, they released Spinal, but the problem was that the developers Broken Helix, or no, Double Helix, sorry, they're called Double Helix, never gave it a release date. They kept saying he's coming in January, he's coming in January. So every week, gamers would come to their, oh, is he out yet? He's not out yet. Shit. All right, is he out yet? He's not out yet. So you get to the final week of January, they released them at like 2 in the morning last night. And it's like, really, next to last day of January, you finally release him? Maybe if you'd given it a freaking release date, people would be hyped for it and would be going nuts. Oh, Spinal. But they didn't. And it's funny, because actually I've been following along some people who've been waiting, like Maximilian, huge YouTuber for fighting games. I mean, he's one of the biggest known YouTubers for primarily fighting game content. He's been waiting for Spinal to come out all week, because he wants to go to a tournament and play Spinal, right? But he also needs to make videos for Spinal for his YouTube channel. And now he's torn. Do I go to a tournament or do I make videos, because they released him so fucking late? So even though game develop, oh, it's just a game, we can push out our DLC whenever we want. I hate this unprofessionalism that these game developers and these game publishers have when it comes to DLC content. Just because your game's released doesn't mean you should just willy-nilly release the DLC, because then guess what? Then no one buys it, and they complain. Oh, why didn't anyone buy Spinal? Well, you fucking just released them whenever you felt like it without telling us when it was coming out so we could prepare for it, you know? People can't just drop everything to play your DLC. A lot of people have lives, okay? So it's annoying in that regard. And then there's also the fact that there's another DLC right around the corner, Fulgore, which they claimed was going to come out sometime in like February. It's like, well, wait a minute. You took forever to release Spinal. Now you're going to be releasing Fulgore last minute, right? So it is kind of annoying. I don't know why game developers can't take DLC seriously and say, we will release it on this date so you know what the fuck's going on. They just don't, and I don't like that. I told you with Telltale games, they do these episodic games, and they don't tell you when the episodes are coming out. And of course, I'm sure it has to do with game development times, but at least give me a fucking time frame. Don't promise me something and then change it or try to rush it in last minute. I get the feeling a lot of people, because Spinal wasn't out, said they gave up and they went and they planned other stuff to do. I'm not going to play with Spiral. Now he's out. Now it's like, now what the fuck do I do? What if you're a competitive gamer and now you got to try to learn Spinal last minute because this weekend there's a tournament coming up? It's fucking annoying. All right. Now, also this week, Octodad Deadliest Catch was released for the PC. This is the new Octodad game, and a lot of people are liking it, but there's also a little bit of people being upset because it didn't come out for PS4. And this is what's upsetting is, you know, you looked at E3 last year and you had Sony up on there. Oh, the PS4 is going to be the place to go for indie games. And, you know, we're going to have all the greatest indie titles on it. A lot of them will be available for free for PS Plus users. And, you know, PS4 is the new destination for indie. It's like, but not really. Because why is it that all the indie games get released 2 to 3 months ahead of time on PC and you get them so late? Don't Starve, now Octodad. And I'll be honest, I was hoping that when I bought that PS4, that launch weekend, I'd be playing indie games. And I barely did. I played like 1 or 2, and that was it. And that's very frustrating. That why the hell can't they get their act together? Does it really take 2 extra months to make it work with a fucking controller? Because I don't believe that. I think it's called laziness and not coordinating with the people making the game so that the port is ready. That's upsetting to me because the game looks good. And by no means am I saying I can't play it on PC, but it's a hell of a lot easier for me to do my content on console, to capture it, to make sure my capture software is working. It's very difficult for me to play PC games and do PC playthroughs. So I wish that these people would get on the ball. I would be up in arms. Why the fuck does PC get it before PS4? I'd be on the developer's ass for it, but it seems like they're just going to let it slide. Supposedly Octodad's scheduled to come out in like March now. I don't even know. We'll have to see what happens with that. On PS4, I mean, by the way. All right. The final news story of the week is that Zelda Four Swords Adventures, it's a special game that was made for the Nintendo, I think it was the DS. I could be wrong. It could have been Game Boy Advance. But There's a special version of it now that was made especially for the anniversary of Zelda and Nintendo. Like it was a year or two ago, they had this special event where if you had a Nintendo 3DS, you could download this Four Swords game completely for free, but it was only for like this one limited time and they took it away. Well, if you have a 3DS and you didn't get it back then when it was like 2 years ago when it was available, you're in luck, it's back. For whatever reason, Nintendo decided to re-release this again for free. I don't know if it's any anniversary in particular they're celebrating, but it's Zelda Four Swords. Check it out on the Nintendo 3DS, Nintendo Marketplace. You can get it right now. I recommend you get it because obviously Zelda's fun, and you can download it if you have a 3DS connected to the internet. Okay? So, that's it for the first segment. That was a lot of information, right? So I thank you for watching. Now I'm going to take a short break. And when we come back after this short break, it's going to be back in the day, talking about my childhood growing up with these great pop culture franchises that turned into huge action figure money-making monsters, okay? So that's going to be segment 2. If you're watching this on Twitch, I'll be right back, so just stick around. We're going to run a quick commercial break while I get some more water here, get my throat a little bit rested. If you're watching this on YouTube, go right into the timestamp of the videos that's in the description of this video. You can click right ahead to the next segment. No need to sit here for a few minutes and wait for me to come back, all right? Thanks, everyone. I'll be right back with more Hate Live. Okay, everybody, welcome back to Hate Live. And before we get into the back in the day segment, there's one quick thing that I wanted to mention. I actually forgot to mention it in the previous segment, but it's pretty important. I mentioned the reboot of my website, thekingofhate.com, and the fact that I now own it and we've completely redone it. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, what happened is we lost all the previous data that was on the website. And the reason that this is important, and I'm bringing it up, is because next week, in 1 week's time, there will not be Hate Live. In 1 week's time, we're going to do the new episode of Ask the King, which is my ongoing series where I answer your questions that you submit via various methods. Now, one of the methods that has always been in place, and that is the primary place where I get most of my useful questions, is from the website. The problem is, we had about 50 or so questions that were submitted previously that are now gone. They were deleted, obliterated from the website, okay, when we rebooted it. Now, on the new website, there actually is a place where you can actually, if I can find this here, hold on. Is that it? I think that's it. This may be it. That's it. Hold on. On the website, there's a place where you can go. Do I still have it open? Shit, I mean, I have it open. I don't. Son of a bitch. I wanted to show you where it was. Hold on a second. I'm going to open it up here. Give me 1 second to get this set up. Almost there. Okay, I'm there. Okay, so on the new website, when you register, sorry about that, if you go right here to the King of Hate vlog section of the website, you click on it, there's actually going to be a section for Ask the King, and there it is. That's where you can now submit your questions for next week's Ask the King episode, all right? And I really need your help. I need you guys to submit questions, because as you can see right now, we don't have very many questions. And usually I get about anywhere from, say, 100 to 150, sometimes even 200 questions that I can go through and pick the best ones that I think I could give you the most entertaining and creative and interesting answers for. And right now I don't have a lot of questions because the site has been rebooted. So I really need your help. Again, if you're someone who asked a question on the previous website and it got deleted, please re-register on the new website and post up your questions. I really need lots of good, intelligent questions for Ask the King next week. Okay, 1 week's time from today. Now, by no means is that the only way I get questions. As you know, I also take questions from Twitter, from Facebook, and we've been doing a live stream Q&A. I may do that this time, or I may do Skype callers next week. That could be a good thing. If you're there and you just catch me live, you can actually call into Ask the King and ask me something live. So we may do that next week. I have to think about that. But I really need more questions. So please, I can't emphasize enough, register for the site and put up your questions for Ask the King next week. Okay. All right, so time for a new Back in the Day segment. And what I really want to focus on this week is a period of time in my life when really my source of entertainment were a few really key television shows that ended up kind of permeating my entire day, especially when I had a day off from school, because of the overwhelming amount of content and product that were put around these pop culture lines of entertainment for boys in the 1980s and early 1990s. What I mean to say is that there was a group of things that came out, TV shows, comic books, that kind of spread themselves into the major media world and permeated every aspect of product, anything you could think of, you could get. So, for example, I remember when I was young, very young, I'm talking like 5 years old, maybe even earlier than that, the biggest thing for me was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. This was the first big television cartoon show for boys that I really caught on. I really enjoyed the show. I loved the content of the show. And boy, did it turn over into other aspects of my life. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about this show. Now, if you watched the show as a kid, You probably loved it. It's all kinds of cool. A big muscle man and his team of people. Some of them are robots. Some of them are monsters. Some of them are just really cool ninja fighters. And they are protecting this realm of Eternia from the evil Skeletor, this cool monster-looking dude with a skeleton head. He kind of is like a buff dude. He's got magical powers, and he's got a team. He's got a sorceress that works for him, and a bunch of real mutated freaks and stuff, Beast Man, all kinds of giant mermen that work for him. And it was all about how Skeletor would always try to come up with this plot to trick He-Man or to trick the people of Eternia so that he could take over the world or take over Eternia, the land of the country. And there was action, there was fighting, there wasn't blood or gore or anything like that. But He-Man was almost like Superman. He couldn't fly, but he was super powerful, super resistant to damage. And so he'd run around punching people and destroying things. He could rip walls down and stuff like that. And I'll be honest, watching the show back today, the show was very poorly animated. There was very few frames of animation. A lot of the times they'd reuse the same exact, drawings. Because keep in mind, back then, cartoons were actually hand-drawn. It wasn't some digital thing made in a studio. It was people actually having to draw frame by frame. So, of course, they would reuse certain animations, certain frames. A lot of the times you could even tell that, oh, that's just a backdrop painting, and they're doing a cartoon doodle over it or whatever. But He-Man was like the big thing when I was a kid, all right? And being that the show had so many colorful, interesting characters, the show was actually produced by this toy company called Mattel. Now, Mattel primarily was known for Barbie, okay? Now, you might say, Barbie, oh God. Exactly. I think what Mattel wanted to do is take that popularity of their Barbie franchise and turn it into a popular action figure line for boys. So instead of making these figures for girls, now we're going to cater toys for boys. And the He-Man action figure line was cool because it was, from what I can remember, like the very first action figure line that wasn't soldier. That was the thing. It'd always been military, troops, army men, and stuff like that. But it was fantasy. Instead of having guns, they had swords. They had magical capabilities. And the figures themselves were so odd because I don't think I have anything that I could actually I could. Hold on a second. This will be good. Who can I show you as an example? Here, let's use this. So, we're going to use this little statue of Kratos from God of War game from last year to demonstrate what I want to tell you. So what would happen is the body of these action figures would actually be several different pieces. Each leg was its own separate plastic piece. Those were plugged or popped into a torso, which consisted of two pieces. There was the crotch area, and then there was the basically upper torso, and those two were attached by a rubber band a lot of the time. Okay. Then you had the two arms were separate pieces that connected to the body, and then the head itself was a separate piece. So you could articulate your figures. You could have your head look from side to side. The arms could move like this up and down in position. The legs you could position so that the action figure could actually stand up on its own, although that was kind of hit or miss. There were a lot of figures where they didn't really design the legs well. It was very hard to make these figures stand up. And of course, the torso, you could turn the character as well to position them. And it was funny because for whatever reason with these He-Man figures, they decided to make the heads out of this rubberish plastic material. And it was funny because the entire thing was hard plastic, but the head you could squish. I don't know why they made it like that, but they did. You could actually squish the head of a He-Man figure. And sometimes you would squish it so hard, it would never come back out and it would be like permanently deformed. Now, I had a lot of the He-Man figures. I didn't have all of them, but I'd have to think with the amount that I had over the years, because I liked He-Man probably for about 2 years, I probably had the majority of the most popular ones, including He-Man, all of the kind of secondary people from the show, some of like the mid-level. I actually liked the villains a lot better than I liked the heroes of the show. I thought that the villains were cool because you had cool guys like the Snake Man. I remember there was a guy who was like made of snakes, and there were the action figures you'd push him and the snake head would jump out and try to bite and stuff like that. And that's why I really thought the snake characters were really neat. A lot of, girls, I hate snakes. I thought snakes were cool when I was a kid. So I had all these snaky action figures and everything. Some of them were bugs. Some of them, all the things that girls kind of are afraid of. I actually liked as a kid. So I liked all the villain action figures. But it was funny because it was like, I'd ask my mom for 5 villains and like 1 hero action figure for Christmas. And she'd be like, well, how are you going to play with that? How are you going to have 5 on 1? It's like, don't worry about it. I always find a way to do it. Maybe this is the villain's turn and they become redemption and they join the heroes or something. But it was kind of fun. But it was so crazy because there were so many of them, right? And then they would come out with like ones that were identical. I still remember. So you had the He-Man action figure. He was a white guy, so he was like Caucasian skin, and he had a blonde hair. They literally came out with the same action figure with different color plastic. So instead of being Caucasian, the skin was blue, the hair was like red, and they said, oh, this is the evil clone of He-Man. I was like, it's the same figure. You're selling me the same figure twice with different paint. And they would do that a lot, actually. And then, of course, after the initial line of figures, they give it a year when those are kind of worn out. Then they come out with, these are the special figures with action features. So they would have a button in the back, you push it, and the guy's arm would spin like this. And, of course, it wouldn't last, because when you got moving parts, the second that arm crashes into another figure, something's going to break, right? But they don't care. That's the toy company. They want you to do that, break the figure, and have to go buy a replacement. That was the whole gimmick here, is that you keep buying them. They're very collectible. You want to get every single one, and there's hundreds of them. So the parents keep going back to the store, and back to the store, and back to the store. And then I even remember there were ones where you would build them. Like they had separate body parts, and you could build custom figures based off of what body parts you got in the pack or whatever. I just remember all this crazy stuff. And then, by far, the biggest thing were the accessories. Not just the figures, but they had big vehicles that you could drive. And they're a giant cat, and I forget what the name of the cat was that He-Man rode. But the cats you could have, and castles. My God, there was Castle Grayskull. I still remember. Grayskull was the good castle, right? With the good sorceress lived in that castle. It had a drawbridge that would fall down. You could smack people in the face with the drawbridge, and actually had like trap doors, so you could stand your figures there. Oh no, Skeletor's sneaking into Castle Grayskull, and you would push a button, a trap door would open, and Skeletor would fall through. Right? It was funny as hell, but it was actually cool. It was a neat collectible. And then there was Snake Mountain, which was the evil place where Skeletor lived. And it was funny because there was a microphone. It actually came with a microphone. And it had a built-in speaker. When you talked into the microphone, it would alter your voice. It was supposed to be like your evil monster. Like, ooh, Skeletor's coming for you. And it had this big snake head that came out of it. And then, the biggest one ever, I couldn't believe this thing. When I saw this in the store, I pissed and shit myself. Being a kid, seeing something like this, you're like, what the fuck, man, right? It was called Eternia. Now, it wasn't actually anything that corresponded to anything in the show. Like I said, in the show, the name of the whole country or the land was Eternia. But they made a toy playset that was insanely large, all right? Cost hundreds of dollars, and it was called Eternia. Now, let me just give you some perspective. The thing, first of all, now keep in mind, I'm 6 feet tall. I swear to you not, it was about this tall. So it was probably about 4 to 4.5 feet tall, this playset. It had a central castle. The center was this giant castle thing that was supposed to be like the neutral grounds where good and evil could combat, and they would meet each other there. It wasn't like this was the home base of the good or the evil. But then on the sides of this big castle, there was one side that was supposed to be good, and there was one side that was supposed to be bad, and they were like painted differently, and they had different trap doors and little missiles that would shoot at each other and stuff like that. And the coolest thing was if you had Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain, right? They actually had attachment hinges to attach those to the ends. So it was like the complete playset. You need Eternia, the good one, and the bad. You need to spend like $400, $500 to have this whole thing. Now keep in mind, like I said, this is stuff that I collected over years. This wasn't like one Christmas I said to my parents because I was a brat, gee, I want Eternia, and I want Castle Grayskull, and I want Snake Mountain, and I want this. No, what happened was, I remember I got them one at a time. So for Christmas, I would get Snake Mountain. For my birthday, I got Castle Grayskull and a couple figures. And then the whole year I would wait. At the end of the year for Christmas, I would get some big thing. I remember that's how it was for a couple years until I accumulated this huge collection of He-Man figures. And, ridiculous, obviously. It's absolutely ridiculous because what are you going to do with these figures after a couple of years when the kid's done with them? And when you really think about it, in a practical mind as an adult, an intelligent adult, you're like, all that money that my parents sunk into these toys for me to just play with them for a couple years and abandon them. And that's literally what happened. I can tell you right now, if you go to my parents' house in the attic, they're all there. They're covered. Like Eternia and Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain are covered in sheets. They never threw them out for some reason. Now, I would say, oh wow, they're collector's items, but they're not. There was a big boom and then a big bubble burst in like the early 2000s, and all that collectible shit that people used to say is worth so much money is worth like nothing anymore. So really, it's worth nothing. But maybe one day before I move to Seattle, I'll go to my parents' attic and I'll go look at my or not move to Seattle. That's not what I meant to say. I meant to say before I move to a new place. I keep saying that, by the way. I keep saying until I move to Seattle. This is the second Hate Live I've done it, and people keep saying, Phil's moving to Seattle. Though the reason I'm saying that is because we were talking to a realtor in Seattle, and we're looking at potential homes in Seattle, but we're not necessarily 100% moving there yet. We're still considering Dallas, Texas, and we're also considering the Sunshine, Florida area. But maybe one day before I move, which is what I meant to say. I misspeak, and then people take it as fact. Don't take it as 100% fact we're moving to Seattle yet, because we're not. But before I move, maybe I'll go to my parents' attic and check out all those toys one more time. That's what I was trying to say. Okay? Now, there's other things after He-Man. This is what I mean. It's such a big waste of money, right? Because how much money was actually invested in that area, right? Or that toy line? Probably hundreds, if not thousands of dollars when you really think about all the money. I mean, an action figure costs like $5 to $10 each. The vehicles probably cost $20 to $50 each. The Eternia playset probably costs hundreds of dollars. And, you know, just the collection itself, probably so much money invested. All of a sudden, a kid's taste change, cover it up with a sheet, they're on to the next one. And that's literally what happened. Like, He-Man was huge for, say, 2 years. Right? 2 years, it was just ginormously huge. And then it kind of died out. It was still on TV, but it was a lot of reruns. There weren't a lot of new episodes anymore. And it went over to the next thing. I remember, the next big thing was Transformers. Transformers were huge, all right? Transformers were on TV, and the kids went nuts. It's funny, because the Transformers cartoons, if I'm to understand it, actually are Japanese in origin, but then they dubbed them in English later on. I could be wrong, but I think they were. And then they kind of Americanized it later on. And, oh my God, Transformers. So, it's the best of both worlds, right? It's a vehicle. Kids love trucks and airplanes and stuff like that. But it's a fucking robot. It's both. And it was so much fun with these Transformers to actually do the process. Look what I can do. You make the truck turn into this giant humanoid robot with guns and stuff on it. And it's funny because that kind of stuff isn't around anymore when you think about it. Think about how violent everything was. He-Man was about using magic and swords to beat the fuck out of the enemy. Transformers used guns and missiles and shit to destroy giant robots. And we'll get on to the other ones. But it was all about violence. And today they kind of almost are trying to phase that stuff out from children's programming. I don't know why you see me going around wanting to kill people left and right. You know what I mean? I think it's really about the parenting. It's not about what the kid watches on TV. If the parenting's good, kids can watch whatever the fuck they want, and they weren't going to go be complete, crazy assholes. But I digress. That's not what we're talking about in this back in the day, okay? All right, so Transformers, huge. Decepticons versus Autobots. And, of course, the first line was vehicles. Then they said, that's not good enough. We got to appeal more to what boys like. Boys don't just like vehicles. Boys like animals and insects. And, again, all the shit that I talked about that I liked in He-Man was brought over to the Transformers. So, of course, I had the Insecticons. I didn't have all of them, but I had some of the Constructicons. I remember I had some. Transformers, I admittedly didn't get as much into as He-Man. I had some, but I never had, like, an insanely large amount where I had almost the whole collection, all right? Because, really, the honest answer, the honest truth here, is that Transformers blew up. What happened was they got super popular to the point where they had a movie. And the very first movie that I ever saw in theaters was Transformers the movie. And I remember that movie, if you actually watch that movie today, the animation is fucking great. Like, you can watch that movie and be like, they put a lot of fucking work into that movie. If you look at the shading, the detail, the animation, they actually licensed music, the voice acting, the plot, everything in that movie is great. And I saw this movie and I was like, I couldn't believe it. It was like a 2-hour-long cartoon that looked amazing. It whooped my ass. Big booming speakers. My dad and I both loved it, and my dad still loves that movie too today. He's like, it's an awesome movie. I couldn't believe what a good job they did with it. But here's what ended up happening. They did the movie, then that changed the plot dramatically of the cartoon, because major characters actually, for the first time in a cartoon, die in the movie. And it changed the plot of the cartoon. The cartoon continued on, but I kind of lost interest after the movie because there were such major changes. Some of my major favorite characters kind of switched around and changed. And then I got into G.I. Joe. Now, if you want to talk about a money pit, G.I. Joe is there. All right? Yo, Joe, we're going to take your fucking paycheck. Because to keep up with the amount of stuff that came out for G.I. Joe was just incredibly insane. And the reason is, if you don't know what G.I. Joe is, I don't blame you, because they made 2 shitty movies of it, and it has nothing to do with what it really is. G.I. Joe was a cartoon, that was about an elite group of United States Armed Forces that were basically turned into like this super group. You had people who were Marines, people who were like Army Rangers, people who were in the Air Force. They picked the best of the best and put them into this elite squad that was an anti-terrorism unit to fight off terrorism, right? And so they went up against this evil terrorist organization called Cobra, who wanted to dominate the world. And so what would happen was that the Joes would have different themed missions. Maybe one mission was at sea, and so you'd have the sea guys, this guy that could swim and he had scuba gear, and another guy who's a good sailor named Shipwreck, and you have an episode that was themed to that. Then there would be a theme where they're in the jungle, so now you got all the jungle troops are out there, and they're all specialty characters, because like I said, these guys are supposed to be like the best of the best, cream of the crop in their respective military divisions. But now I just want you to think of the potential that there was to cash that sucker in. Because boy, did they ever cash that sucker in. So, of course, Shipwreck, you could just buy the Shipwreck figure. Or you could buy the Shipwreck figure that's prepackaged with this bow. And then 2 months later, they come out with the Shipwreck with the different colored bow. And then another 2 months later, it's Shipwreck, but it's not the same boat anymore. Now it's a sailboat. And then another 6 months later, well, it's not the sailboat. Now it's a jet boat. It was like, how many different fucking vehicles could you buy? And there were ridiculous amount. Like, I'm talking hundreds. I remember hundreds of these things. You would go to the store, and they would have half of one aisle would be G.I. Joe. I thought the tank, the truck, the Jeep, the car, the moped, the Razor scooter, the jet, the biplane, the motorboat, the speedboat, the yacht, the carrier. It was incredibly out of control, really. It was just like incredibly out of control. And that was the money pit right there, because you could literally go there and drop $1,000 and not buy everything that was available for G.I. Joe. That's how much there was. So it was kind of similar to He-Man in the respect that, you could buy a base if you wanted, and, you could buy, the good base, the bad base. You could attack each other's bases. But it was a lot of moving. I remember in particular, whenever you bought these vehicles, they had a lot of moving parts. A lot of them had, like, missiles and things that would shoot. You would always lose that shit. You would shoot the missile. Where the fuck did the missile go? And you'd be looking, I don't know where the hell this thing went, man. Is it in the carpet? I can't find it. Did it go in the wastebasket? Where did it go? Did it bounce off something? And that was the always thing with G.I. Joe. You'd always be shooting shit and losing it. Then later on, after G.I. Joe, that's when I was finally exposed to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I actually remember, at the time, when the Turtles were already popular, when I had jumped on board with them, like, I knew they existed, but I thought, that sounds stupid. Like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sounds so dumb. And then I actually watched the cartoon. I was like, duh, this is good, duh. Just like every other kid, we were mesmerized by the cartoons. And that was in a whole other one where the cartoon had so many characters, and then they went out and they came out with 100 billion action figures, vehicles, and everything. It was just out of control, the amount of merchandise that was put out for young boys during those, that decade, 1985 to like mid-1995. There was so much stuff. And I remember the last one that I really cared about, there were 2 actually. The next to last one that I really cared about was X-Men. Because at the time, in the early 90s, the X-Men were white hot because they had a super popular comic book series reboot. And then they also had the TV show that came out at the same time on Fox Kids. They had it on Saturday mornings. And I remember the figures that came out. Every X-Men, now keep in mind, X-Men is a comic book that had been out since like 1963. So they'd had hundreds, if not thousands, of characters that have gone through the X-Men comic books. They made a freaking action figure for every single character. And it was just out of control, the amount of people. I remember going to a Toy Works, KB Toy Works. That's what they were, because they merged at one point. And going there on like early on a day, like a Saturday morning, when they get their shipment of new toys. And I would be there, well, let's see if they got the figure I'm looking for, because it always sells out. You'd have 40, I swear to God, 40-year-old men would be waiting at the door in front of you because they wanted to get in there and buy that fucking action figure before the kid who wanted to just play with it, because he wanted to keep it in the pristine packaging and maybe later on resell it for more money. The nerdy motherfuckers who all, like, you know, they're so, what the fuck? Talk about not having priorities in life. If you think that it's important that if you're 40 years old and you got to line up outside of a toy store on a Saturday morning to buy an action figure that a kid behind you in line wants, what the fuck is wrong with these people? So yeah, and I remember X-Men was huge. They had so many different lines of X-Men figures, and the last one that I cared about was Spawn figures. This was the mid-1990s, I should say early to mid-1990s, when Spawn comics had just come out. Todd McFarlane, who had always worked for other comic book companies, he had major runs. He had one of the big, most popular Spider-Man runs ever with Marvel Comics. Decided he wanted to branch out and make his own line of comics, and he went over to this company, and he teamed up with other comic book artists and writers of same mind like him, like Rob Liefeld and such, and they made Image Comics, and the most popular Image comic was Spawn. And this comic just exploded. People loved it. One of the highest rated comics ever. And of course, later on, like all comics, he didn't write for it or draw for it anymore, and it went right into the toilet like all comics do. But he decided to focus on making a line of action figures based off of his comics. His action figures were insane. Like, they looked exactly like the characters from the comics. They were crazy proportion, crazily painted. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. If you just look online for Spawn figures and see people who've saved these things or posed them, and like they look like statuettes. They really look like mini statues. And that's actually what I did. At that point in my life, I was too old to play with action figures, but I just liked the look of them so much that I would get them for like Christmas or spend my own money on them. And I had a bookcase where I would pose them at each other, like they're like posing, like they're gonna fight or something. People come into my room and be like, "Holy shit, you got this crazy ass war going on in your bookcase." Like, yeah, you know, look how cool these figures are. And they were huge, but that was the time period when comics were at their height. And so really what ended up happening was that people said action figures aren't for kids anymore, they're for collectors. And so they start, these are collectors figures, and you don't play with that. You got to keep it in the package, or if you take it out of the package, you got to put it in some kind of a protective display to preserve the quality, because one day you're going to want to resell that. And it was just so nuts, the amount of money. I remember that was when the prices jumped too. You know, action figures used to be $5-10. The prices jumped to like $20 for an action figure. Yeah, they were that expensive, like $20 for a figure. You're like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not going to spend that much money on that shit anymore. And who actually would who in their right mind, right, would spend $20 on an action figure you're going to give to your kid that you know he's going to break in a week? So obviously, as time moves on, you grow out of things. But it's funny because right here to my side here on my bar, I've got giant statues of Isaac Clarke, of Duke Nukem, of Sagat, Poison Ivy, the Songbird, the Joker, Guile, the tank from Left 4 Dead. You know, I'm still a collector. I still like having that stuff around. But that was the era of, you know, the action figure. And it's funny because they don't really make them anymore. It's few and far between. You'll go to a toy store. I go to a toy store now and I walk to the toy aisle. I look around like, what the fuck is this? There's not any action figures at all. It's just weird stuff that they sell now. I mean, it's so foreign. Because again, when I was a kid, it was like you go to the toy section, you turn down that aisle of male boy toys, and there was always two aisles of toys for boys in the store. One aisle had all the athletic shit. So the footballs and the Nerf stuff and the things for sports. And then you would turn the corner to that next aisle, and you would have G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, Ninja Turtles, whatever was the popular thing at the time. And then, of course, the knockoffs, because there were always knockoffs. Transformers had the GoBots and the Rock Lords, which were the same exact thing, except they were generic rip-offs, G.I. Joe there was like this generic one that no one really talked about. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had Biker Mice from Mars and Sewer Sharks, which were terrible, terrible rip-offs. He-Man had one too, but I can't remember exactly what He-Man had. He-Man had a major rip-off too. So it was always like you'd have the big section for the main stuff, and then right next to it would be like the little rinky-dink section for the bootleg. And a lot of times the parents would buy the bootleg because the bootleg was cheaper than the name brand stuff. So, right. So it was a crazy time to be alive. It was a different era. You can't do that stuff anymore. I don't think they'll ever come back, especially now. All kids want, I want Skylanders with my little figurines. Fuck the figurine. They throw the figurine across the room. I don't need the fucking figurine because I'm just going to play the video game, and that's all it is. It's all about video games. Everything's digital. Everything's virtual. So it's funny because now, with something like Skylanders, you could dump $1,000 into it, and you got nothing. Versus with He-Man, you dump $1,000 into it, you got a room full of fucking action figures and toys and shit that your kids play with. Versus Skylanders, where it's all digital and on your console or TV or whatever. So it's a different era. Times change. But that was what it was like living all the popular things when I was a little kid when it came to like toys and stuff like that and the stuff that I was into, at least until my teen years when I finally grew out of it. All right. All right, so that's it for the Back in the Day segment of Hate Live. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to take a short break here, relax my voice a bit. We're going to come back and we're going to do live callers. And we're going to have about maybe 20, 25 minutes to do that, okay? If you're watching on Twitch TV, hang in there. We're going to have a short commercial break. If you're watching this on YouTube, never fear. There's a timestamp in the description of the video. Give it a click. Jump right ahead to the Skype segment. And fingers crossed it works this week. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, everybody, time for our third and final segment. Let's wrap this sucker up with some live callers calling in. So right now, what I'm about to do, I'm going to turn my Skype on. All right. My Skype name is DarksidePhil with a Y. So send me a call, and I may answer, and you may be on the show. Now, what I need to do here, hold on a second. I'm not ready yet. Switch over to my Skype layout, and... Ooh. Ugh. That was ripe. All right. Get my headphones on. Get ready. All right, now let's see who or what pops up. Keep in mind, I'm delayed by 30 seconds, so it's going to take a minute for people's calls to pop up here. All right, the very first caller tonight. Here we go. Hello? Hello? I hear nothing. I cannot, if you are on the line, hello? Whoa. I guess the guy disconnected. Hello? Nothing. Well, that was a dud. That was a dud. Couldn't hear anything at all. Right? Couldn't hear anything. All right, let's try another one. Let's try this one. Hello? Hello? Anyone there? Boy, we're having bad luck tonight. I can't seem to... I don't know if there's something wrong with my setup, or people just aren't ready. I don't know what's going on. Huh. I just tried 2 different calls. They did not work. Huh. All right, let's try again. Here, let me answer someone who I know first to quickly see if it's working. Let's try this. Hello.
Hey, what's up?
All right, so it's not. I thought my Skype was screwed up or something because the first 2 callers I couldn't hear them. What's going on, Chris?
Not much. Just wanted to call in, say hi. This is my first time on, actually. The only time I was on was for your initial setup, so I figured I'd call in just see how things were going.
Cool. Things are going great. How are things with you these days?
They're great. I wanted to ask a little advice. Next week,
Sure.
I will be going on my first real date with a girl.
Uh-oh.
So, wanted to ask the master himself what
Wow.
advice he has. Yes.
All right. Well, the best
So,
thing that the best advice I could give you is you take her out to a nice restaurant. You give her a nice, treat her with respect. Pay for the bill unless she's insulted by that kind of thing, and then you take her home and you jump on her bones. No, I'm kidding. No. Where'd you meet this girl? You met her at school? Because I know that now you're attending college, and what kind of a girl is she? What is she into?
She is a friend of mine. She was in my orientation group for the college, like the first couple of months we were there, and then we had like a group of friends, like my roommate and a couple of people. We had a good group of friends and stuff, and basically we started hanging out more and whatnot. And basically, she had been in this really weird relationship with this guy that was kind of causing her troubles. And she was basically, a couple of weeks ago, she said she was thinking of like transferring to college. She just seemed really, really, really upset about things and whatnot. And we got along really well in talking and stuff. So I said, you know what, I'll take this a step further. And I asked her and stuff, and I think she was really surprised. Like, I don't think she ever expected me to ask and stuff, but she was all happy about it, and she said she was really looking forward to it. Now, the coolest thing about her is that she's actually from Ukraine, and there are songs in GTA 4, there are songs on GTA 4 that are like from the Russian radio station, and while I was playing GTA 4, she was able to translate the songs for me. And I was like, that's so freaking cool. It's like, what girl can like make a connection to your video game like that? Like, oh, and so now we like listen to the Russian music together and stuff. And I'm like, well, I know this music from blowing up things in Grand Theft Auto. You know them from your homeland. That's so it was pretty cool. So.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And I remember I told you a few months ago that college was going to be different. It's gonna be a different experience. It's definitely, for a lot of people, it's so different from high school. There's so much a variety of people that attend college in the United States, and I knew that you were gonna make it out, that you were gonna make out well there. So congratulations, first of all, on getting the date. Obviously, I don't know her enough to know her interests or whatever, but one of the biggest things that I could say from experience, especially when it comes to, presenting yourself as being attractive to a woman, is confidence. Now, I don't mean being an overconfident dick and always boasting about yourself and stuff like that, but just being confident in your demeanor, knowing exactly who you are, what you want to do when you go out on this date with her, and, not being, timid or anything like that. And also, I would also say humor. Humor is a huge thing that women love. A lot of women. I'm not going to say every woman. I don't want to overgeneralize here, but... And not to say that the entire time that you're with her that you should be making jokes or be trying to do so, but don't be afraid to not be Mr. Serious all the time. People like to laugh. People like to have fun. And if you're just constantly being this drip or stick in the mud, that's not going to work out. You want her to laugh a little,
Yeah, well, I mean, since we're friends, she likes my style of humor anyway. So that's the thing that's different about this girl, because in high school, I was interested in girls and I asked them out, but I didn't know them. Like, I didn't know anything about them. I had no history with them. I knew absolutely nothing about them. So I went into it basically saying, oh, all right, I'm just going to get to know this person. Whereas this is a different situation where I know this girl for a long period of time. We've hung out. We've gone out to restaurants, but it's been with other people and stuff. And we've done a lot of other things. So it was kind of funny when I asked her to go see a movie. She's like, oh, we can go with the whole group. And I'm like, no, just the two of us. And then she kind of laughed. She's like, is this a date? I'm like, yeah, I guess. And she's like, and so I don't know. It was just.
But she said yes. But she said yes.
Yeah, she did.
That's the important thing. You didn't get friend zoned.
Yes.
So.
She was happy. No, she was happy enough to tell all of our friends and all of our groups and stuff. So it was pretty good. So I'm looking forward to it next week. We're going to see the movie that I don't know if you've seen it. It's like 12 Days a Slave, or it's some movie that's really, really good. I heard. I didn't get to see it last weekend. I went to see The Wolf on Wall Street last week, which, oh my God, that movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Is
3
it bad
hours of
or good?
3 hours of tits, drugs, and rich people. That is all I can say.
Well, there you go. That's the trifecta. How could you go wrong?
Yeah.
That's why it's nominated for Movie of the Year, right? Like it's going to get an Oscar or something. I think it is.
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio. It's a full. Well, it's crazy, but yeah, you can go on.
Yeah, Chris, thank you for calling in. Obviously, I want to give some time. I only got about 15 minutes left on the show for other callers, but thanks for calling in. Good luck on your date, and I wish you the best now that you're at college and moving up in life. Have fun, and I think it's gonna go well for you.
Yep, it's going really, really well. I got a job now. I got a whole bunch. I'm so busy nowadays. It's hard to stay up with the channel, but I do have some time here and there, so I definitely want to make it for Hate Live. It's good to stay connected with the community. I really love everything that's been going on with the website. I like your direction for the year, and I'm definitely going to stick with it. So you've been doing a really good job. I just want to let you know that.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the call, and I'll see you later. Keep in touch, all right?
Yep. Same to you, Phil. Right. See you.
Later. All right, so it's not my Skype. It was those first two callers that weren't working for whatever reason. Let's go ahead and try to grab another random person here. Unfortunately, all these are all going off at the same time. Hold on, I'm gonna close a few. Oh my God, the screen's going nuts. Give me a second, everybody. Here we go. I'll try to get this one. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Who's this I'm speaking with?
This is I am Kurla on Twitch.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for calling in tonight. What would you like to talk about, sir?
Hold on 1 second. Just gotta close the stream for a second. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, I actually was expecting you to call, so I was expecting you. So, all right, So the first question I wanted I wanted to ask you what was actually supposed to be a raffle question for the I think it was for the first episode not first episode, it was like the first out of beta episode for Hate Live. So
okay.
So I wanted to ask you even though I probably already know the answer already, what is your do you have like any favorite music from like modern day, like today and stuff like that, or but also second question with that is what was your favorite music when you were a child or teen or whatever?
Right now, quite honestly, I do not listen to modern music. I am of the opinion that modern music, a lot of it is not music. For music to be music, you actually have to have an artist who has an intention or a meaning or a feeling that they're trying to portray through their music and artistic vision. They probably need to know how to play a nice musical instrument as a way to express that feeling. And what I see a lot of modern music today being is just a person who has a pretty face, maybe a nice voice, gets given a song to sing, goes into a studio, sings it, has no connection with the song whatsoever. Then you got the guy who's on the computer who, auto-tunes the music and puts in all the tracks and the riffs. There's not even any real musicians involved in a lot of modern music today.
Yeah.
It's music that's made purely for profit rather than for any kind of artistic expression. And I don't agree with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that when I listen to music, I want to feel some kind of a connection to what's going on in that song. And so for me, like if you want to ask what are my favorite artists from when I was growing up, first of all, one of the greatest artists of all time, the Beatles. Obviously, I mean, so groundbreaking in a band that completely reimagined and reinvented themselves so many different times over the course of their career. And if anyone could tell me that they listen to a Beatles song and they don't feel emotional connection, like you must be like the Snow Miser.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't know how you could not feel something listening to that kind of music. But when I was growing up, primarily I listened to more rock music, I would say. A lot of the alternative movement during the early 90s to mid 90s. So you're talking bands like Stone Temple Pilots, Nirvana, in my case, some Red Hot Chili Peppers, some, I'm trying to think of the albums I actually own, Bush, Collective Soul, a lot of that kind of music. And then later on, as I was moving into, say, my college years, it was funny because all the people around me didn't listen to that. They were that was like the big rap movement. Rap had hit the big time, and everyone was into things like Dr. Dre and Eminem, and that was the kind of stuff that I was a little bit into at that time. And then since like the early 2000s, I haven't really listened to anything. Like if I listen to music, it's something that I heard on TV or in a show or even in an anime that I'm watching or something, or maybe a movie had a song that really caught me, and I'll look it up and I'll listen to it. But I'm not a music listener. I don't sit around just listening to music. I haven't in quite some time. It's just something that I really haven't been into in a long time.
Yeah. It's pretty much the same thing with me. I don't like I listen to some music, but not to the extreme. So.
Okay, well, I thank you for calling in.
Yeah,
I'm going to let you go try to get a couple other people in. Thank you for calling, and have a good night, sir.
Yep, you too.
Very good. All right, let's see who else I can get. Let's see if we can get this gentleman in here. Hello, sir.
Oh, good evening, Phil.
How's it going?
No, everything's fine currently. I hope you don't mind, I'm going to keep this brief. Earlier, there was a situation in the forums when you were streaming.
Okay, what happened?
There was someone who was posting a video that resembled pornography, but it was not.
No, I didn't think it was, because I didn't think that video would even be, allowed on, what was that, YouTube or whatever they were linking to?
Yes, it was YouTube.
So obviously that wouldn't be full-on porn that was on YouTube, but I figured that's what it was.
Yeah. I just want to note that they were only doing that to take an opportunity, and they most certainly took it, but now they're banned permanently.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you try to dick around, Here I am trying to show off the website. Oh, opportunistic. Let me try to get my 15 seconds of fame. So I hope it was worth it, and now you're not going to be part of the new kingofhate.com. So congratulations, sir. Good for you. I hope that it was worth it. Very good.
I would also like to note that he was banned from the last forum as well for spamming.
So there you go. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, sir, for that information. And so people will know you're going to... The kingofhate.com will have dedicated moderators. The Lemon is one of them. And these people are there to basically keep it a safe environment, so you're not getting attacked, you're not getting this kind of pornography and stuff in your face. So don't worry, it is going to be a safe place. And I thank you, sir, for your help with the previous website and your continued help with the new one.
No problem, Phil. Have a good night.
You too.
Farewell. Very
good. All right. Unfortunately, I have a ton of calls already stagnated on my screen. I'm going to try to get a new one up here. That's the problem. Skype messes up. And it keeps showing the same calls. I got to get the hang of this, after doing this for a while. I'm sure I will. Too many calls on the screen. All right, here we go. I think I'll try this one. Hold on a second. Let me see something. Oh. All right. Let me try this one. Let's see if this works. Hello? Hello, is anyone there?
Yes.
Oh, hello, how's it going?
Hello. I just have a few questions.
Okay.
I'm a longtime fan, and after watching your stuff, it seems that you changed a lot from treating your
Okay.
fans and just random stuff and um I don't know how to ask a question.
What's going on back there in the background? Is everything okay? What was that? Some
Yeah,
guy...
that's my roommate. I'm in college right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what to ask. My roommate probably will have something to ask.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
I was just wondering, what is your take between JRPGs and regular RPGs?
My take, what do you mean? Like, do I like
Like,
one over the other, or...
either one, which one do you like the most and why?
Well, see, it's funny because when I was growing up, it was just called RPGs. There was no such thing as JRPG. You know, you would have the SNES, and when you played Final Fantasy, you didn't necessarily say, oh, this is the Japanese style of RPG, because that's what was popular back then. There were no American-style RPGs. But what's happened in since the 2000s, there really has been this, like, break between RPGs, where there's the traditional, more turn-based Japanese style versus the more action-based, maybe more narrative-based, even dialogue choice style Western RPG. And I'm a fan of both. I mean, people who've watched my content for, you know, over the years will know. I love JRPGs. You know, Final Fantasy are the ones I grew up with versus the more modern ones. I've played every Mass Effect game. Now here I am playing Dragon Age Origins to try to catch up for when Dragon Age Inquisition comes out later this year. So that I can see that each one has their own pros and cons. When it comes down to relaxation factor, I think that I actually like JRPGs more because with a JRPG, a lot of the times it involves grinding. And so there could be a nice night where I'm just relaxing on the couch, I'm grinding in a JRPG, and, you know, I'm maybe watching a movie or something, you know. A lot of the times I actually watch John Rambo's The Show, which is his podcast. I watch it on my PC while I'm actually grinding in a JRPG, if that's a current playthrough I'm doing. So I would say overall I'm a fan of both. But when it comes down to like a more laid back kind of an attitude, JRPGs I like a little bit more. I think that the Western RPGs you need to pay attention to a little bit more, and obviously they don't need grinding or anything like that. So it is a different kind of experience. I would probably say for me, JRPGs edge it out a little bit because that's what I grew up with, and that's kind of where my background is from.
One last thing. What's your take on because now that Square Enix is moving from a different kind of format, they want to go more hack and slash with Final Fantasy 15. Do you agree with that or not?
I mean, Square Enix is behind the eight ball. Square Enix right now is worried because they're seeing declining sales with their biggest franchises, you know, namely Final Fantasy, and they're thinking, gee, what's popular right now? Oh, look, everything's hack and slash, everything's action based. We should do that too. Is that the approach that they should take? You know what I mean? I don't think there's anything wrong with the traditional JRPG style of game. I think what's happened is that unfortunately Square Enix kind of fell away from what they were good at. They were good at making these great stories with great high production value and characters that you liked. Characters that, you know, you got your favorite character, you want to keep playing the game to find out what's going to happen to them. And when they put in with Final Fantasy 13, a lot of people said, I don't find a likable character in this game. The plot's too freaking overblown and confusing. The game, you know, keeps you on this kind of not or on rails track for 20 hours before you even get to an open world portion like a traditional JRPG. And I think that's where they lost their way. You know, it was so different from what people were used to when it came to a JRPG. If they could find a story with characters that was riveting and wasn't confusing and was interesting, I don't think they have to change the gameplay at all. But that's not where they're going. They're blaming basically that, and they're trying to change their whole formula. I don't know how successful that's going to be. I really don't.
We'll find out next year. Here's
we'll
the
see.
Dragon Slayer.
I got one more question.
All right, go right. Go right ahead.
While you were talking to my roommate, I thought of it. A lot of people want to know, when are you gonna play Jack 2?
It's definitely on my schedule for stuff. If you remember, I've had it as a candidate for
Yeah.
something that I was going to play for quite some time. Really, what I do when I'm doing these downtime games, I'm trying to find stuff that's pertinent or timely for a reason. So, for example, I'm playing Dragon Age Origins because later this year is Dragon Age Inquisition. Right now, I'm doing Phoenix Wright Justice for All because it's a 2-year anniversary of when I originally played the game, and I finally have downtime around the same time. It could be just something that out of the spur of the moment I decide to play, or it could be that, I don't know, I there's a reason for me to do it. Maybe something new that's Jack related gets announced. I don't know. But, I mean, it's definitely something I'm going to eventually play. I just don't know when I'm going to do it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Okay?
Just a short question. Do you have any plans on playing PS1 classics such as Crash Bandicoot or Spyro?
It's a possibility. People always ask me, "Are you gonna play this? Are you gonna play that?" I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I could always get them off of like PSN. Again, if there's a pertinent reason to do it, I would definitely do it more during that period of time. As of right now, that's not anything that's immediately on my radar. But I'm not to say that I wouldn't play those games. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for your call, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And have a good night.
Yep. You too.
All right, I have time for one more call, and that's going to be the end of Hate Live tonight. So let me close all these again and see who I can get on here. Because these are all old calls. Trying to get someone new who I've never talked to before, which is what I've been trying to do all night. That way we get some variety. All right, let's try to get this gentleman on. Hello.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Now I can. Yes, sir. How are you tonight?
Very good.
All right, and do you have a question for the stream?
I want to talk to you about Nintendo a bit.
Okay, sure.
When you're doing your gaming news, you kind of miss some info a little bit.
Okay.
I can barely hear you. But that's okay.
Okay, I'll speak louder.
No, it's just the quality of my laptop, I guess. But, anyways, Nintendo had an announcement later today of some new ways they're planning on increasing their business strategies.
Okay.
And it's not really anything that I see is going to help them at all, sadly. Like, the problem is, like, they know that they're starting to fail a bit, but they still don't understand why. And they announced that they still want to go on with the Wii U, and they still want to try to push their gimmicks onto other people. And it's looking like they might go towards some stuff like what Skylanders and Disney Infinity do, where you could have like toys that you put on your Wii U gamepad.
Oh boy.
Which I think is, yeah, I think that's one of those two games, one of the stupidest ideas I ever seen in gaming. And they also said that they're going like licensing their characters to things outside of games and onto mobile devices as well. And I don't understand what they're going for right now.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, if you were a gamer and you were a fan of Nintendo, at this point, it's got to be a pretty frustrating time for you because of everything that's going on with Nintendo, and the fact that if you grew up with Nintendo, you were all about the consoles, you were about the first-party games, the first-party franchises, and the fact that right now, it seems like that's not what they want to focus on. They want to focus on, gee, we fucked up. We built out a console that no one wants because it's basically a last-gen console with outdated graphics now. It can't even run the third-party games anymore. And by the way, we don't have enough first-party titles to really support this console. So let's blame it on everything else. And that's really what it's become. Let's blame it on the mobile market. Let's blame it on Skylanders. And let's blame it on this and that. Instead of taking responsibility for the fact that they made horrible business decisions with this console. And the fact that the Wii was only a success because it was a lucky gimmick. So I've already talked about this on at length. I'm not going to get into it again tonight. But if they really think that doing a model where you're going to have a little toy and you're going to put it on the Wii U gamepad and it's going to scan it into the system, it's all a gimmick. Those games are successful because kids, just like with action figures, like I talked about earlier in this episode, they get addicted. I have to have every single one. It's like you got to collect them all. And so you got to go get this one and this one and this one. And of course, for those games, it's great. It's an ongoing revenue stream. You pay $60 for the full game, then you're continuously spending $5, $10, $5, $10 to keep it going. It's absolutely ridiculous. If that's really where Nintendo's going, it's not going to save them. I mean, it may give some life to the Wii U and give people a reason to buy the Wii U because their little kid wants to play the collectible game. But then again, they've already got Disney. They've already got Skylanders. They've already got two huge competitors in that market. And being the third company to try to jump into that market seriously, I don't know how successful they're actually going to be. Even with their iconic Nintendo characters, it's kind of funny because it's becoming to the point where the Nintendo characters are kind of like old school. Like, older people know who Mario is. Older people know about but the younger kids don't know anymore. Mario isn't the cool thing for young kids anymore. So what kid, if you've already got Skylanders, everyone knows what that is. Disney, of course kids know what that is. They saw all the movies. What if they never played a Mario game before? What's going to be the incentive to buy the Mario toy and do the stupid scan the barcode and get Mario in your game kind of thing? I don't know. If that's really what they're looking for to be their saving grace, I think that they're kind of losing direction. Then again, like I said weeks ago, I think they have lost their direction, and they need to admit fault. Listen to the hardcore gamer and say, listen, you were the guys who put us number one. You were the guys who made us synonymous with video games from day one. We fucked up. We lost our creative direction. We lost the direction that we should have went with the company. We stopped supporting the hardcore gamer. We want you back, and here's what we're going to do to get you back. But that doesn't seem, again, it doesn't seem like what they're doing. They're ignoring the hardcore gamer, who is their primary audience, and I honestly don't know how that's going to work out for them in the long run.
Yeah, like I said, like, they know that they fucked up. They just don't know the reason. They still don't understand why they fucked up. And, yeah, I don't know. I don't like the direction they're going. I have one more question for you.
Okay.
About your website.
Sure.
I was wondering if you thought of uploading your videos directly to your website, so you don't have to deal with stuff on bullshit on YouTube like copyright claims or having to censor your videos.
Good question. As much as I would love to do something like that, there's one primary reason why YouTube is the #1 video sharing website in the world, right? And it's because they have the most money. Because they have the most money, they're able to buy unlimited server space so that anyone who wants to upload a video at any time can upload it, and boom, it's instantly live on the internet. The problem with hosting my own content, let me give you some perspective. So let's say one 10-minute video is 300 megabytes in size. Now, let's say 1,000 people watch it. So just do the math. 1,000 people times 300 megabytes. Well, the bandwidth cost for something like that would be astronomical. Even right now with the dedicated server that I bought, I'm paying something like $2,000 a year, but I'm only getting a certain amount of terabytes of bandwidth a month. And, you know, there's just no way, unless I had hundreds of thousands of dollars or more that I could invest into just the server space for hosting my own videos, that I would be able to do that. And it's funny because people, since I started on YouTube and had issues, have said the same question. Why don't you just take your content and put it on your own website? It's just not financially viable. It's too expensive. And unfortunately, like Google, I don't have big money to put as investment into, say, the infrastructure of a server farm or whatever that I could actually do. Plus, let's also face it, I've been having lots of problems with my internet. I can actually see right now that on the live stream that I'm dropping some frames of animation. So you need incredibly good internet to be able to have something like that going as well, where you're doing live video streaming. So, hey, in 10 years' time, could things change? Could the internet change? Could the way that video on demand technology change where something like that is viable for a person to actually store their own video content? Sure. But right now, especially the fact that the amount of videos that I upload, there is no way that I would be able to, unfortunately, host that kind of stuff on my own website. Even though it is a great idea, I would love to do that. I have to rely on an outside company to do it, which is why most people go to YouTube, because they allow you to do that unlimited kind of a deal. and they pretty much let you upload anything you want.
Okay, well, thanks for your time, Phil.
All right, thank you for the call. You have a good night.
All right, goodbye.
All right, so there you have it. That went pretty well. Besides the 2 dud calls at the beginning, I don't know what happened. But, all right, so thank you, everyone who called in. I'm now going to actually put myself as Do Not Disturb so I stop getting phone calls here. I want to thank everyone who called in. I apologize that I was not able to get everyone. I tried to pick new people this time around, so that way it wasn't always the same people I was answering. I will continue to do that in the coming weeks, although every once in a while I may pick up a call from someone who, if they have something to say or I'm expecting them to call in. It went well tonight, I think, right? We didn't have any bugs. It seemed to actually go pretty well. So, a little night and day from last week where we had a lot of technical problems. I think this week we did pretty good. So, I want to thank everyone for joining me here live tonight on Hate Live, or if you watched it on YouTube, or hey, maybe you used one of those video to MP3 programs that I recommended to make this audio and you're listening to this as a podcast primarily. Thanks a lot. Next week, I want to remind everyone, no Hate Live. It's going to be Ask the King. And I would again remind everyone, please, if you could, if you were a registrant of the old website and you have not registered for the new one, please do so. Please post up so that we can have questions for Ask the King next week. It's imperative that you post up in that thread that I showed you here on the stream tonight, so that way we can get questions. I'll probably even put a link to that thread in the description of the video, so it's easy to just click, you go to it and submit your questions for Ask the King in 1 week's time. Thanks, everyone, for joining us tonight. I appreciate your viewership. I appreciate, your attention. And that is it. I'll see you guys in a couple weeks, I believe it is. I'm trying to think if I can squeeze in another Hate Live. I think there will be... No, actually, you know what? There will not be another Hate Live for 1, 2, 3 weeks. So Hate Live going on a 3-week hiatus. Next week, Ask the King. The week after that, I'll be busy. I'll be timing off with my girlfriend. We're celebrating the Valentine's Day holiday for a few days. So we'll be coming back in late February with the next episode of Hate Live. We'll have news. We'll have updates on everything. Hopefully by then the website will be up and running. And I just don't know why I'm still wearing these headphones, because I'm not taking any more calls. All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. You have a good night, and hopefully I'll see you for new gameplay this week, and I'll see you next week for Ask the King. Peace out.